I never imagined a single sentence could unravel everything we had. But that night, it did. Lena and I had been together for nearly 2 years. It wasn't always perfect, what relationship ever is. But I truly believed what we had was real. We shared laughter, dreams, late-night talks about growing old together. We'd even started to sketch out a future that felt promising, if not certain. There were moments of deep connection, those small, silent pauses where love lives quietly. But even in those moments, maybe I'd been ignoring the signs that something was off. She still followed her ex on social media. Every now and then, his name would slip into a conversation, casually, harmlessly, like a ghost whispering between her sentences. And sometimes she'd make these offhand comparisons. How Jake used to do this, how Jake would never do that. I brushed it off, called it nostalgia, told myself it didn't matter. I told myself she chose me. But maybe she didn't choose me completely. It all unraveled over something trivial. As most heartbreaks tend to. We disagreed about our weekend plans. She wanted to hit a party with her friends. I just craved a quiet night. Just the two of us, something low-key. Nothing major. But tension has a way of latching onto the small things. And suddenly our simple disagreement spiraled into something sharper. She crossed her arms, tilted her head with that subtle defiance I'd started to notice more often. Then she said it. You know, Jake would have never been this boring. He always knew how to have a good time. Jake. Her ex. I didn't hear it at first. Or maybe I didn't want to. But the way she looked at me after she said it, the way her eyes held steady, chin slightly raised, like she was daring me to react, that's when I understood. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. That was intentional. That was a weapon she chose to use. The air left my lungs slowly, like I was preparing for a storm I'd been holding back for far too long. Asterisk, what did you just say? Asterisk, I asked quietly. She rolled her eyes, brushing it off like it was nothing. Asterisk, don't be so sensitive. I'm just saying, you could learn a thing or two from him. Asterisk. That was it. Right there. The moment everything snapped. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I simply turned and walked into the bedroom. At first, she thought I was just sulking. Oh, come on, don't be dramatic, she called after me. But then she heard the closet door slide open, heard the metallic rattle of a zipper. Her voice shifted. Asterisk, wait, what are you doing? Asterisk. I didn't respond. My hands were moving on their own, grabbing shirts, jeans, stuffing them into a duffel bag with no sense of order. I wasn't packing. I was escaping. She rushed in, her face paling. Asterisk, okay. I didn't mean it like that. It was just a stupid comment. Babe, seriously, you're overreacting. Asterisk. I turned to look at her. And for the first time since we met, I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just an eerie, liberating emptiness. Asterisk. You should have thought about that before you said it. Asterisk. Her expression shifted. Fear, confusion, regret. Like she was watching the walls of everything she built begin to crack. Asterisk. You're not seriously leaving over this? Asterisk. I zipped up the bag slowly. Asterisk, watch me. Asterisk. She grabbed my arm, desperation kicking in. Asterisk, don't be ridiculous. You're not actually leaving. Asterisk. I pulled away. Asterisk, you don't get it, do you? It's not just what you said. It's what it means. Asterisk. Her lip trembled. Asterisk, what does it mean? Asterisk. I slung the bag over my shoulder and looked her in the eyes, really looked. Asterisk, it means I was just a replacement. Asterisk. That hit her. I saw it. The weight of the truth landed in her chest, and it knocked the air out of her. She stood frozen, blinking through the tears forming behind her lashes. Asterisk, wait, where are you going? Asterisk, she whispered. I didn't answer. I grabbed my keys, walked to the door. She followed, her voice cracking now. Asterisk, babe, please. I didn't mean it. I love you. Asterisk. I paused at the door. Just for a second. And then the last words I ever said to her. Asterisk, then you should have respected me. Asterisk. And with that I left. I didn't drive to a friend's place. I didn't go to my parents. I didn't even have a plan. I just drove away from her, away from everything. Eventually, I found a cheap motel on the outskirts of nowhere. I checked in without saying much. Tossed my half-packed bag on the floor, collapsed onto the stiff mattress, and closed my eyes. That's when it hit me: peace. Not relief, not joy. Just quiet, unburdened peace. My phone buzzed relentlessly through the night. Dozens of missed calls. Messages swinging from apologetic to accusatory to desperate. I didn't respond. I didn't even read most of them. I turned it off and stared at the ceiling, letting silence wrap around me like a blanket I didn't realize I needed. The next morning, I stepped outside into the crisp air. And for the first time in years, I felt free. Free from the weight of being second best. Free from constant comparison. Free from chasing validation that should have come effortlessly. I kept driving. I didn't look back. Not at the city skyline in the rearview mirror. Not at the memories we made. Not even when the text stopped and the calls faded into nothing. In her world, I had vanished. And in mine, she had too. I started over. New place. New rhythm. A quieter, stronger version of myself. One that didn't have to compete with a ghost. One that didn't have to prove he was enough. Maybe she moved on. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she still measures every new guy by a standard set by a memory. That's not my burden anymore. Because the night I walked out of her life wasn't the end of a love story. It was the beginning of mine.